What future pathways are available to us? This is a visualization from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that's using color to tell us about the Earth's temperature. And you can see in the 1700s, the 1800s, just prior to and in earlier periods of the Industrial Revolution, the planet's temperature changed a little bit. It tended to stay in these blue tones. But in the 1990s and the 2000s, we started to get a dramatic increase in our Earth's temperature. This graphic also shows us about our future possible pathways and what they imply about our carbon dioxide emissions. So in the worst future pathways up here in the far right, you can see that we're not managing even to reach peak emissions until 2100 or later. In these worst scenarios, our temperature continues to rise precipitously up to 2100 and even past that point. A middle range pathway, more in line with where we're headed today, is one where we manage to peak our carbon dioxide emissions around 2040 and then make slow progress towards eventually halving our emissions around 2100. In this, again, we see temperatures continuing to rise over the next 80 years and beyond. The best future pathways, though, also remain open. In these pathways, we're reaching peak emissions close to now. We're continuing to make progress and have our emissions around 2030 or 2040, and then we're moving past that to reach net zero, so that any emissions that we continue to put in the atmosphere, we also balance out by removing emissions from the atmosphere. So how are we doing towards these potential future pathways? The good news is we've already made progress. Before there were any climate policies, around 20 or 30 years ago, we were actually headed towards about 4 or 5 degrees Celsius warming by 2100. But with current policies in place, we've already changed that curve to move more towards about 3 degrees Celsius warming by 2100. Still a pretty devastating number, but certainly better than where we were headed before. And if we move past that to meet current pledges and targets, and then continue to strengthen action, we can actually move towards these best pathways, achieving 1.5 or 2 degrees warming as an upper limit to 2100 and actually seeing temperatures reduce past that period. Taking action on climate change also has benefits across a broad range of timescales. If we burn less oil, methane gas, and coal, we can create immediate short-term health impacts by reducing pollution in our air. This is going to then have long-term climate protecting impacts that we will see the benefits of for our children and our grandchildren. But if we even stretch into further long time scales, we can see that our actions now are going to reverberate for thousands of years, which I find really exciting. So if we take strong action here on the left, we're going to keep most of the Greenland ice sheet ice in place over the next 1,000 years. And we're going to minimize the contribution that the Greenland ice sheet will make to sea level rise, helping our coastal communities and their infrastructure. But if we don't take action, or we even go back to fossil fueled development, that's where we begin to see that perhaps we lose the entire Greenland ice sheet over the next 1,000 years, with many, many meters of sea level rise consequence for our communities. So this is our chance to lock in a legacy that lasts for thousands of years. These future pathways that reduce risk remain open, and it's our societal choices to move us towards those pathways. They're going to have short-term benefits like health, all the way to multi-millennial benefits. So this is the perfect time for us to really get serious about climate action.